elite opponents, and every tournament she enters now carries a growing sense of expectation. If Caty McNally believes she is facing the same inexperienced player from previous seasons, she could be making a costly mistake. Eala's recent victories over some of the biggest names on tour have demonstrated remarkable maturity, composure under pressure, and an ability to elevate her level in the biggest moments. That combination makes her one of the most dangerous players in the draw. However, it's important to note that there is no verified public record of Nadal making these specific comments or issuing this exact warning. While Nadal has previously praised Eala's work ethic and potential through their connection at the Rafa Nadal Academy, the reported warning remains unconfirmed. Even so, the broader point remains difficult to dispute. Alexandra Eala has transformed into a genuine contender. She is no longer simply a promising young talent learning the tour. She is a WTA champion, a top 20 player, and one of the hottest competitors in women's tennis. Whether or not Nadal actually delivered those exact words, Caty McNally has every reason to approach this matchup with complete respect, because the Alexandra Eala waiting across the net today is playing with a level of confidence and belief unlike anything the tour has seen from her before. The warning reflected a simple reality. Alexandra Eala was arriving on the Canadian hard courts with a level of momentum unlike anything she had carried before. Fresh from her breakthrough performance at the Mubadala City DC Open, Eala entered Toronto as one of the hottest players on the WTA Tour. Her historic title run transformed her from an exciting young prospect into a proven champion, making her the first Filipino player ever to capture a WTA Tour singles title. Along the way, she defeated an impressive lineup of elite opponents, including Olympic champion Zheng Qinwen, defending champion Leylah Fernandez, top-ranked contenders, four-time Grand Slam champion Naomi Osaka, and world number 3 Jessica Pegula in the championship match. By the time she landed in Toronto, she was riding a 7-match winning streak, had climbed to a career-high world number 20 ranking, and was playing with the confidence that only comes from proving you can beat the very best on the biggest stage. Her aggressive left-handed game, fearless shot-making, and growing belief had become defining features of her tennis, making every opponent aware that facing Eala was no longer just another match. It was a serious challenge. It is important, however, to separate established facts from storytelling. Alexandra Eala has trained at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca since she was a teenager, and Rafael Nadal has publicly congratulated and praised her development, including recognizing her outstanding week in Washington after her DC Open triumph. Their long-standing mentor-student connection is well documented. However, there is no verified evidence that Nadal privately warned Caty McNally or made the specific comments described in this narrative. Those remarks should be viewed as a fictional or dramatized scenario inspired by their real relationship rather than confirmed reporting. Even without those alleged comments, the underlying message remains entirely believable. Any opponent preparing to face Eala after Washington would understand they were meeting a player whose confidence had reached an entirely new level. The momentum Eala carried into the National Bank Open was no accident. It was the product of weeks of outstanding tennis and continuous improvement. Her title run in Washington showcased not only explosive offense but also remarkable composure under pressure, highlighted by her comeback victory over Jessica Pegula after a rain-delayed final. Rather than shrinking in the biggest moments, Eala elevated her level, finishing the championship winning 9 consecutive games. That kind of resilience changed the conversation surrounding her career. She was no longer viewed simply as a talented young player with potential. She had become a genuine threat capable of defeating the world's best. That confidence remained evident in Toronto. In her opening singles match, Eala earned revenge against Alicia Parks, a player who had beaten her earlier in the season at the Australian Open. The victory demonstrated another important step in her development, the ability to learn from previous defeats, adjust tactically, and produce a different outcome against the same opponent. Instead of allowing past disappointments to linger, Eala turned them into valuable experience. Her movement, point construction, and willingness to attack under pressure reflected a player growing more complete with every tournament. The atmosphere surrounding her matches only amplified that momentum. Filipino supporters packed the stands, waving national flags and creating an environment that often resembled a home match despite being thousands of miles from Manila. Their energy provided another reminder of how dramatically Eala's popularity had grown following her Washington triumph. Every winner was met with thunderous applause, every crucial point generated louder cheers, and every match felt like a significant event. For opponents, it meant facing not only one of the tour's most informed players but also a crowd firmly behind her. Against Caty McNally, Eala's greatest strengths remained the same qualities that carried her through Washington: fearless aggression, heavy topspin off the forehand, improved tactical maturity, and the confidence to dictate rallies against experienced opposition. Those weapons had already dismantled several higher-ranked players, and they gave Eala every reason to believe she could continue her remarkable run. Whether or not Rafael Nadal ever delivered the reported warning, the evidence on the court spoke loudly enough. Alexandra Eala had become one of the most dangerous players in women's tennis, and anyone standing across the net from her ignored that reality at their own risk. Alexandra Eala's confidence was evident in every aspect of her game. She consistently took the ball on the rise, cutting away her opponent's reaction time while dictating rallies from the baseline with remarkable authority. Her speed allowed her to chase down shots that seemed destined to be winners, instantly turning defense into offense. Every point reflected a player who believed in her game plan, trusted her instincts, and refused to back away from pressure. That confidence made her one of the most difficult players on tour to disrupt. Opponents could no longer rely on waiting for mistakes because Eala was playing with a level of conviction that kept her on the front foot throughout matches. Her Toronto campaign was not simply a continuation of her Washington title run, it was further evidence of how rapidly her game was evolving. Areas once considered weaknesses had become strengths. Her serve had grown into a far more reliable weapon, earning free points at important moments. Her tactical awareness had matured significantly, allowing her to recognize momentum shifts and make adjustments during matches rather than after them. As a natural left-hander, she had also become increasingly effective at using sharp angles, heavy topspin, and wide serves to pull opponents out of position before finishing points with aggressive first-strike tennis. Every tournament seemed to reveal another layer of improvement, making it increasingly clear that Alexandra Eala was no longer simply fulfilling potential, she was becoming one of the most complete young players on the WTA Tour. In that context, the narrative surrounding Rafael Nadal's supposed warning felt symbolic rather than literal. Whether or not those exact words were ever spoken publicly, Eala's performances themselves were sending the same message to the rest of the field. Yet despite all the momentum surrounding Eala, Caty McNally represented a far more dangerous challenge than many casual observers appreciated. McNally was not arriving simply to participate in another chapter of Eala's breakthrough season. She possessed years of tour experience, a powerful first serve, aggressive baseline strokes, and the confidence earned from numerous hard-fought three-set battles against high-level competition. She understood how to compete under pressure and had developed the resilience required to survive momentum swings that often decide matches at this level. If she hoped to stop Eala's winning streak, her first priority would be surviving the emotional opening stages of the contest. The atmosphere heavily favored the Filipina star, with the crowd expected to transform center court into an environment that resembled a home match. Escaping those opening games without falling behind would be essential. Once settled into the contest, McNally's most logical strategy would be to drive the ball deep through the middle of the court, forcing Eala to remain behind the baseline instead of stepping inside to dictate play. By limiting Eala's ability to take the ball early and control rallies, McNally could attempt to slow the pace of the match and gradually impose her own rhythm. Even with those tactical options, however, the psychological advantage appeared to belong firmly to Alexandra Eala. Momentum in professional tennis extends far beyond statistics, and Eala entered Toronto carrying the confidence that only comes from winning a major title against elite opposition. The support from thousands of Filipino fans added another dimension to that advantage. Every winner was celebrated loudly, every successful rally generated another wave of energy, and each positive moment reinforced the belief surrounding her remarkable rise. For McNally, the challenge was therefore both physical and mental. She was not only facing one of the hottest players on the WTA Tour but also attempting to quiet an inspired crowd that believed it was witnessing the next chapter of a historic breakthrough. The widespread narrative that Eala had transformed into a different player following her Washington triumph only increased those expectations. Whether inspired by Nadal's mentorship or simply by her own remarkable development, Alexandra Eala entered the match carrying enormous belief. That meant the burden shifted toward McNally, who now had to prove she possessed the level required to interrupt one of the biggest success stories in women's tennis. It set the stage for a fascinating contest between a rapidly rising champion overflowing with confidence and an experienced competitor determined to show that momentum alone is never enough to win matches at the highest level. Caty McNally certainly possessed the weapons capable of producing an upset. Her powerful serve, aggressive ground strokes, and experience in high-pressure matches made her a dangerous opponent for anyone on the WTA Tour. But Alexandra Eala entered the contest carrying something equally powerful: momentum. Riding a 7-match winning streak, fresh off the biggest title of her career, and backed by thousands of passionate Filipino supporters, Eala arrived with the confidence of a player who genuinely believed she belonged among the elite. That combination made the outcome impossible to predict with certainty and promised an exciting showdown for fans inside Sobeys Stadium and millions watching around the world. The atmosphere reflected the magnitude of the occasion. Filipino flags filled the stands, chants of "Eala, Eala, Eala" echoed throughout the stadium, and every point felt charged with emotion. It was another reminder that Alexandra Eala's rise had become more than a tennis story. It had become a source of national pride. From the opening point, the contrast in styles was immediately apparent. Eala imposed herself with fearless intent, stepping inside the baseline whenever possible, taking the ball early, and driving her ground strokes deep to rob McNally of valuable time. Rather than allowing rallies to develop, she looked to seize control from the very first shot, forcing the American onto the defensive. Her exceptional movement complemented that aggressive approach perfectly. Time and again, Eala chased down balls that seemed destined to become winners before instantly transforming defense into attack with a single swing. Every successful rally ignited another wave of energy from the crowd, whose support seemed to fuel her confidence even further. McNally, however, refused to be overwhelmed by the atmosphere. Drawing upon years of experience on the professional tour, she relied on her biggest strengths to remain competitive. Her first serve consistently earned free points, helping her escape difficult service games and preventing Eala from establishing complete control. Whenever rallies extended, McNally answered with aggressive baseline hitting of her own, matching Eala's intensity shot for shot. The opening set quickly evolved into a tense contest in which neither player was willing to surrender momentum. Long exchanges, powerful returns, and athletic defense highlighted